Cheney paused for a moment and instinctively took a step forward to try to support me. I quietly stepped back, avoiding his outstretched hand. Yes, I am trouble, a troublemaker. No matter who I am with, no matter what I do, it's always my fault. Regardless of the reason, regardless of right or wrong, it's just because I am a sinner. I am the one who killed our parents. Is that right? Cheney's eyes gradually changed from panic to indifference. Did I say something wrong? Isn't it because you were greedy and caused them to die in the car accident, causing me to become an orphan? He finally spoke his mind and said the things that had been weighing on his heart for so many years. So I deserve to die. Congratulations, Cheney. You will get what you want and I will die soon. So I won't owe you anything anymore, right? Brother, goodbye forever. I pushed them aside in a daze and ran out stumbling. Since Winnie came, Cheney had become more and more impatient with me. He always told me to be obedient and sensible. I knew he was pressured by life. I felt sorry for him, but couldn't do anything about it. I could only study hard and hope that I could help him after I graduated from a good university. When I was 18, I finally received the admission letter from the top one university, Harvard University. I was full of expectations and imagined that my brother would be happy if he saw it. He would be pleased to see me being so well-behaved and successful. Would he become the caring brother he used to be? That day, he didn't come back until late at night. He often stayed out late for socializing, but that day I was particularly restless. I asked many people and went to many places, and finally found him in a bar. At that time, he was already unconscious from drinking, and his opponent was holding a sharp, broken bottle against his eyes. "You dare to steal away my business, I'll teach you a lesson!" In that instant, my heart almost jumped out of my throat, and I rushed forward like crazy to stand in front of him. "Don't hurt my brother!" The group of people looked at me with playful eyes, as if they had seen something fun. I felt scared, but when I saw my brother behind me, I suddenly had endless courage. "I can let your brother go, but you have to drink all the wine on this table." I wanted to secretly call the police, but they took away my phone and blocked my way out. With no way to go out, I had to drink one cup after another as if I could never finish. My consciousness gradually became blurred, and the sinister laughter around me continued. "Cheney's sister seems interesting. Let's give him a big gift." They let Cheney go, but it became hell for me. No matter how I begged and cried, they still didn't let me go. I closed my eyes, hoping it was just a nightmare. The next day, I dragged my tired body back home with reeking of alcohol, only to be greeted by Cheney's angry and disappointed eyes. He slapped me hard. It was the first time he had ever hit me since I was little. "Cheryl, look at what you've become now. Do you still have any shame?" He threw his phone in front of me. I just knew that person had taken photos of me being bullied. "Cheryl, I have been kind to you, so from now on, you're on your own. In the future, don't say that you are my sister anymore. My sister is only Winnie." He compromised because of my photo and gave up the hard-earned order. He hated me because of it. I stumbled out of the Joneses' residence with nowhere to go. That acceptance letter from Harvard University was discovered by them the night before and burned in front of me, turning into ashes. At the age of 18, it seemed like a nightmare that I couldn't get rid of. I wanted to die, and I even cut my wrists, but I was still saved. Winnie came to see me. She looked at me with pity and helplessness. "If you die now, what will brother do? Are you trying to exchange your death for his lifelong guilt? It's already difficult for him to raise you. Can you stop being so selfish?" It turned out that even if I died, I would still be a burden to him. I closed my eyes wearily. I won't die, at least not in the next 2 years. There is no hope for living, nor freedom in death. I was like a walking corpse or a rat in the sewer, only fit to live in darkness. Sometimes I couldn't help thinking, why didn't the car accident take me away when I was 10 years old? Every day of being alive was torture, but I still lived with all my strength. After that, I rarely saw Cheney. Even if I met him, he was indifferent to me. The irregular daily routine and diet made my stomach occasionally start to act up. When I was finally diagnosed with stomach cancer, I was even a little happy. Finally, I could die legitimately. After leaving the Jones residence, I moved out of the apartment I rented. I couldn't die in someone else's house to avoid affecting it to be rented out in the future. I rented a small courtyard in the countryside. I had found a piece of land in the wilderness. On my birthday, I would go there to end my life. Although it was regrettable that I could not be with my parents, it was comforting to have the same death day with them. There was one more regret, which was that I didn't have a proper farewell with Cheney. Anyway, he was my blood brother and had protected me for many years. Just when I was ready, Cheney found me a few days before my birthday. He stood at the gate of the courtyard, silently watching me. I didn't know why he came to find me and how he found this place. I had a lot to say, but when I actually saw him, all I could say was, "Hello." Cheney sat beside me, just like an ordinary friend. "How have you been recently? Have you been picky and not eating well?" I shook my head with a bitter smile. I haven't been like that for a long time. We both fell into a long silence. When I was a child, I was very picky. Cheney always tried his best to coax me to eat a few more bites of vegetables. The kids in the yard bullied me, and he would stand in front of me to protect me. "This is my sister. I won't allow you to bully her." He would hold my hand every time we went out and kiss my face every night before bed, saying goodnight. How did we, who were once so intimate, end like this? "Cheryl, move back home." I was about to refuse, but I was hooked by his next sentence. "It's almost the Christmas, and we haven't celebrated the Christmas together for a long time." I, who had already made up my mind, suddenly wavered. Being together was an enticing phrase. I had spent several years in solitude. When facing death, I always wanted to take some beautiful memories with me. I went back to the Joneses' residence with him. My bedroom was not redecorated. There were new items related to Chibi Maruko-chan on the table. I didn't know when they were placed there. Everything in the house was still the same as before. "So, brother, you still love me, right?" I dared not ask, for fear that all of this was just an illusion. Winnie still had an expressionless face as always, but she took care of Cheney meticulously. He loved her not without a reason. Well, at least after I died, there would still be someone accompanying him. Cheney seemed to know something. He never mentioned an apology, but he always took care of me. He was like trying to make up for all the regrets of these many years. He personally cooked the food that I loved. Although I couldn't eat much anymore, I still forced myself to eat it, and then vomited it out after I went back to my room. He bought me many beautiful dresses, but I had many scars on my body, and I didn't want to show them to him. He said he wanted to buy me a house and jewelry. I refused. Those were all worldly possessions for the dying. On my birthday, I secretly put on the white dress, wanting to end my life in the place where I chose. But early in the morning, Cheney followed behind me. He took me to ride the sky wheel. When we reached the highest point and saw the lights of thousands of households beneath us, he spoke softly. "Cher, I'm sorry. Brother didn't take care of you well." In the darkness, my long-dried tears suddenly burst out. Cher, a familiar yet unfamiliar nickname. I almost forgot that there was someone who used to call me Cher with tenderness. There were people releasing skylights in both sides of the river under my feet. I swallowed the lump in my throat and watched the skylight flying higher and higher. When I just lost my parents, I was helpless, crying every day to find them. Cheney brought me to the riverside, accompanied me to write words of missing on the skylight, and let it drift in the sky. Brother, can the skylight really bring my missing to my parents in the sky? Yes, definitely. As a young child, I believed it, and often came to the riverside to release skylights when I couldn't hold on. Since I didn't answer him, he turned to look at me. Cheryl, what are you looking at? I pointed to the skylight. 10:25. Brother, if one day I also die, will you release a skylight for me? He rubbed my hair and his throat seemed to be choked with something. It's you who will release it for me. You are several years younger than me and you always outlive me. On the way back, we were silent all the way. When we were children, we used to talk endlessly under a quilt. I never thought that one day we would be silent to each other. When we arrived home, Winnie was still waiting. When she saw us coming back, she breathed a sigh of relief. See. Brother, you should rest early tomorrow because there is a meeting tomorrow. Before entering the bedroom, Cheney stopped me. Cher, happy birthday. Sorry, I will make up for the gift next time. Since I was 10 years old, I have never celebrated my birthday again, and no one has ever said, happy birthday to me? How can I be happy? How can I be happy? For so many years, I have never eaten cake or ice cream again. I hate them. Brother, what should we do? There is no future anymore. The next day, Cheney had already gone to work, but Winnie was waiting for me in the living tomb. In fact, there was no big conflict between me and Winnie. When we were young, we were not sensible and could argue over a pen or a biscuit for a long time. When we grew up, we both became quiet, and coupled with the car accident, we rarely talked to each other like sisters. Winnie graduated this year and had entered Cheney's company to help him. I was actually very surprised when she said she wanted to talk to me. When a person was about to die, many past grievances seemed to fade away. Brother recently sent Felix James to prison. Seeing my confusion, she took the opportunity to explain. It's the person you hurt that night. I didn't understand why she suddenly told me these things. She seemed to see my doubts and continued on her own. Cheryl, to be honest, I envy you for having a brother who loves you so much. Over the years, I know you haven't had an easy life, but brother has had an even harder time. At that time, he was just a half-grown child, but he had to support the two of us. After years, things got a little better. After your incident, he almost killed Felix that day. If he did not consider that no one would take care of you if he was put in jail, he would definitely not hesitate to kill him. He had many enemies, and his wings were not yet full. He could only sacrifice the hard-won order to get your photo back. He was afraid that you would be hurt again, so he ruthlessly drove you out. In these years, you thought he didn't care about you. But if it weren't for him, how could you easily find a decent job? I couldn't deny that it was shocking in my heart, and if I wanted to blame, I could only blame the fickleness of fate. Winnie suddenly knelt down in front of me. She grabbed my clothes and sobbed. Cheryl, I have checked your medical records in the hospital. I know you have got stomach cancer. But can you please, before you leave, save brother? I stood still in a daze. I understood every word she said, but I couldn't understand them when they were put together. After you left, brother was found a heart problem, and it has become more serious over the years. I can tell that he misses you, so I took the liberty of inviting you back for his birthday last time. It can tell that he was happy, but I don't know why you two ended up unhappily. That night, brother's heart disease relapsed, and the next day when we were discharged from the hospital, you also saw us, right? I remembered that day. He was wearing a mask, and his face was pale. I thought he was accompanying Winnie to see a doctor, but I didn't expect it to be Winnie accompanying him to see a doctor. At that time, I was sad for a long time in a sentimental way. I didn't go forward to care for him. Was he also sad and upset? Later, brother accompanied me to buy a dress, It was because there was an important negotiation that day, and the dress I had prepared in advance got dirty. In the recent banquet, we didn't invite Felix originally. It was him who came to seek reconciliation because brother has been collecting evidence of his crimes for so many years. That incident stimulated brother, and he remained unconscious in the hospital for many days. The doctor said that if there was no suitable heart transplant, brother... I suddenly remembered our conversation last night on the Sky Wheel. Brother, if one day I also die, will you release a skylight for me? It's you who will release it for me. You are several years younger than me, and you always outlive me. Tears wet my eyes unconsciously. Cheryl, can you give your heart to brother? Winnie's eyes were misty. Biting her lip, she looked stubborn and fragile. Cheryl, I have lost my mother and my family. I can't lose brother anymore. I beg you, please save him. All right. I was supposed to die, but if I could save my brother's life, it would be a repayment for his sacrifice for me. I was indeed a trouble. I went to the hospital for examination and matching. Luckily, it was a good match. 2 days before his surgery, I was packing my luggage. Brother, I suddenly want to go far away and travel for a while. Don't miss me, okay? He became anxious and insisted on asking me where I was going. He wanted to accompany me. I made plans with my friends. You stay at home and wait for me. I will send you postcards. He took me to the airport and hugged me tightly before parting. Cher, don't forget to come home. Brother will be at home, always waiting for you. Watching his figure disappear at the end of my sight, I turned around and took a taxi to the hospital. The last time I saw him, he was wearing an oxygen mask. Tightly wrapped under the surgical, I gently held his hand and resolutely lay on another operating table. Brother, without me being a trouble, you have to take good care of yourself in the future. Live well, live a long life, and live my life for me. Goodbye, brother. I slowly closed my eyes. Cheney's side story. One, I had a dream, a very long dream. On Cheryl's 10th birthday, our parents had a car accident and sacrificed their lives to save me and my sister. Mom often said that I was the elder brother, and I should love and take care of my sister for a lifetime. Our parents were gone, and overnight, my sister and I became orphans. But I still had to take care of my sister, so I gritted my teeth and overcame one obstacle after another. Although life was difficult, fortunately, there was a lovely sister waiting for me at home. Later, my cousin Winnie came, and I treated them equally. They sympathized with each other and quickly became close sisters who could talk about anything. Both of them were very hard-working and always ranked first in their grade. When Cher turned 18, I was harassed by my arch-enemy and got drunk. Fortunately, the police cracked down heavily that day, and my arch-enemy had to leave in frustration. The next day, when I woke up, Cher told me that she had been admitted to Harvard University. I was overjoyed. On the day of the school opening, I personally took her to the campus and watched her start her new life full of youth and sunshine. Later, she graduated successfully and joined my company with Winnie to help me. With their help, my career flourished. Afterwards, she found the person she loved, got married, and had children and grandchildren, and I, too, had grown old with white hair. In my final moments, she stayed by my bedside. Brother, in the next life, will you still be my brother? All right. Brother, wake up! Struggled to open my eyes, and all I saw was white. Then I saw Winnie's joyful face. Brother, you finally woke up. Cheney's side story, 2. I looked at her, and then struggled to look around, trying to find another figure. Winnie wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes and held my hand. Brother, are you looking for Cheryl? Did you forget? She said she wanted to travel abroad for a while. I suddenly realized the past scenes rushed into my mind. We, who had a good ending, were just in a dream, a beautiful dream. But reality was a different story. On Cheryl's 10th birthday, we lost our parents. Since then, as a half-grown child, I had been taken on the role of father and mother. At first, I still loved Cheryl like before, but the pressure of life was too great and crushed my frail shoulders. With nowhere to vent, in the quiet of the night, I felt like I was going crazy. If only Mom and Dad were still here. If Cheryl hadn't insisted on eating ice cream, would they have not had the accident? Time went by, and resentment grew in my heart. Later, Winnie also came, and my pressure became even greater. But I couldn't shut her out because she lost her mother in that car accident. Winnie was very obedient and good at reading people's expressions. In comparison, Cher was a bit ignorant. Over time, I started to blame Cher. Until Cher turned 18, I was still immature and was troubled by my competitor, and was forced to drink much wine. I even thought it would be better to die there than to suffer so much. They tried to destroy me, but for some reason, they let me go later. The next day, when I woke up, I realized that Cher had saved me. But she was the precious treasure that I had cherished for so many years, had been treated and abused like this. And it was all because of me. Regret, anger, and various emotions were overwhelming me. I was scared when I saw Cher coming back covered in bruises. I didn't know how to face her. I didn't know how to face my parents. I was also worried that in the future people would come to bully her. In my confused state of mind, I made the stupidest decision and kicked her out of the house. As long as she was not my sister, no one would bother her. I was about to beat the suspect to half-death with a stick, but Winnie stopped me. "Brother, what will happen to me and Cheryl if you enter the prison?" I shrank back in pain. I regretted my actions that night countless times. If only I hadn't gone. If only I hadn't taken those orders. If only I hadn't driven Cher away. After that, I rarely saw Cher. A long time later on my birthday, Winnie called her. 10.26 as... Oh, actually, I was happy in my heart. Continue. Wait for last part.